All right, before we get started here, go into your Minecraft launcher settings and check that open output log is enabled. This output log is where errors show up if you're having issues with your data pack. So very, very useful if you need to bug fix later. All right, so this tutorial assumes you're familiar with installing data packs as well as the file structure. So download the Talon's dimension template, extract it somewhere, and before loading up the world, we're going to rename this rename me. This is the namespace of your data pack, of course. So you want to give it something unique. I'm just going to call it Talon dim because that's kind of funny. So now we're going to head into the headquarters file, the main area, the custom dimension file. So the reason that this is the headquarters file is if a biome is not in here, it doesn't generate. None of the other stuff we're going to do today matters if it's not in here. Now you'll notice we need to update the namespace. So just set that to be whatever you changed the folder name to before. This is also a good time to change your file names because this custom biome 2 will show up in the F3 menu. So you might want to put something descriptive. I'm going to leave mine as custom biome 2 and custom biome 1 just for clarity. So there's also two other things we specify in here. We specify the dimension type, which is the next file we'll work with in a little bit. Update that namespace. And then we also work with a custom dimension settings file. That is what places the blocks. And that's the other reason that this is kind of the headquarters file is you specify all the files that you're going to be working with. Type, settings, and biome. So now we can attach the data pack to a new world like I have here. And I recommend only using a new world. Don't use some testing world you have, but use a genuine new world because you can't really go back once you load a dimension. That's actually why this error, or not this error, but this warning shows up here. If you do really want to use it on a non-new world, definitely make a backup. It's not super easy to remove a dimension data pack once you've loaded it. And in fact, if you disable a dimension data pack, that's pretty much guaranteeing that you can't access your world without safe mode. So don't do that. Okay, so we load into the world here. And we are currently in Minecraft Overworld, not our new dimension we just made. So we actually need a command, which is extremely easy. So we do execute in, and you'll see a list of dimensions here. If your dimension does not show up here, you messed up, and check the output log because there's probably some errors there for you. We'll just do TP at S, and these can honestly be any coordinates. It doesn't really matter. And when you run that, it'll say loading terrain. And ta-da, here we are in our new world, our new dimension that we just made. So this is our blank canvas, and now we can begin to paint. So let's close out of the world and open up the dimension type file. So this dimension file is sort of like the global dimensional rules. And there's a few interesting things here. We're not going to go through everything, but you can change like the ambient light of the dimension. So we could have it to be 0.7. It goes up to 1.0, I believe. If you want your dimension to look more like an overworld, then you'll want this at 0.0 and you'll want the has skylight to be true. So those two kind of work together. Obviously you would invert that if you wanted a nether. So you'd put this up. You can control whether bed works in this dimension. Like will they explode or will they not? Same with respawn anchors, kind of the same setting. But one of the most visible effects, literally, is effects. So there's three options here for the three default dimensions in Minecraft. Basically, it controls the skybox of the dimension. So you can see we have like a regular overworld with like clouds, sun, that kind of thing. If we set this to the nether, we get a fog that hides the clouds and the sun. Technically, they're still there. And of course, if we set this to the end, then we get, you know, the classic like end skybox, you know, with all the like stars or whatever they are. I don't really know how to describe it, but you can use any of those effects. And then directly related to that, we have an option called fixed time. So you can make it so that the sun doesn't move, which is useful if you're working with the nether, since it technically doesn't remove the sun. So you might want to like stick the sun sort of underneath the world so that even if the fog doesn't load in, you don't see it. But if you don't need a fixed time, like if you're working with the overworld, you can remove this since it's an optional setting. So for this tutorial, I recommend you don't change height because you need to change it in multiple places for it to look right. Like you can technically change it here and it'll look a little funky and some of the generation will be weird. And to make things simpler, I would say just leave this as it is for now. So for the monster spawn stuff, for the overworld, obviously, monsters can only spawn at a light level of 0, so that's why this is there. And this is sort of a range for overall light level as opposed to block light. But if you want to be more precise, you can set that to an integer as well. But we're going to go with the overworld defaults here. So I think the only thing we removed was the fixed time, and everything else we're just leaving default overworld because that is fine for our purposes. So if you changed a bunch of stuff, you can open up the world and take a peek at it, but we're just going to move right on into the noise settings. This is where things get interesting. This is where the actual painting starts, so to speak. So, yeah, look at this. Default block, Minecraft stone. I wonder what we could do here. Maybe we could put a per block. Now, because the dimension settings actually change the blocks of the world, in case that wasn't obvious, we can't see the changes as easily. So we have two options. We can either go to new chunks, or we can do the far easier option, go into our data pack, actually into our world. This is the world folder here. Go to dimensions. It will show your custom dimension here, and you just delete that whole folder. Okay, I just got a particularly relevant error in the output log, and I'm showing this because it could happen to you. So it says unterminated object, and it tells me where, and it tells me in what file. And so if we go there, it says that there's an unterminated object right here. And what you'll notice is I'm missing a comma on the line before. And I just wanted to include that just to kind of show you how you would use the output log to your advantage, in case there's more serious errors than just, a simple syntax error like an extra curly bracket or a missing comma. Anywho, deleting the dimension will remove all of the entities and blocks from that dimension, and it will allow it to regenerate. And oh, will you look at that? It's all purple. So you'll notice, contrary to what you may expect, the default block is not actually the top block. It's the one underneath. In fact, it's actually the one in the middle. If we go down to Y0, you can see there's deep slate there. So this only replaces the stone, which is the default block for most of the biome, or the dimension, I should say. Let's change more blocks. Let's go mad with power here. All right, what else can we change? Default fluid. Oh, that sounds exciting. And I'll tell you what's even more exciting is it doesn't actually have to be a fluid. The game does not care when it is generating, so we can actually change it to be glass, and we can change the the sea level to be more. And when we're exited the world, we clear the dimension files again, so we can reload into the world and generate new chunks. Well, would you look at that? Look at this nonsense. I expect you're beginning to see how you really have control over a lot of stuff here. You can really paint this to your liking. You can even, you can even see the purple underneath where the ocean used to be. And you can see that dirt where the land used to be. So we did bring the sea level up to be 70 now. And in case it isn't obvious, I mean, you can make this go all the way up to the build limit. So you could have a world that is completely and entirely flooded in water or anything. All right, I'm going to set this back to water and put this below sea level, or the default, so we can see the landscape a little bit better. So if we look down here, ore veins enabled, it says false. I turned that one off just so you have to change at least one setting in here. Although I'm not 100% sure if the ore veins will actually work over the top of the purple blocks properly. It definitely works over the stone blocks, of course. This does not affect mob generation across the board, by the way. Just going to mention this. It only generates mobs that are spawned when the chunk is generated. So after the chunk has been generated, then it doesn't apply anymore. So it's only that initial mob generation. You can ignore this one. So this is why I said you're going to have to change the height in multiple places for it to look proper. This is the second of 3 places you would need to change it. And the third one is this scary stuff down here. There's a lot of Y values, and you need to go through here and make that look proper, and it still might turn out a little bit funky. For this tutorial, I would say just ignore all the stuff in the noise router here. All right, so scroll past all of the noise router stuff until we get to here we go, surface rules. So technically surface rules are also quite advanced, but we're just going to be changing some really basic stuff here. So there's a couple of these instances where we actually change or we set a block in the world. You'll see this Minecraft bedrock, very familiar. That's a block. You can make this be something else. Sure, redstone block. Yeah, why not? You can leave the bedrock as it is if you want. There's some more fun stuff later. So scroll a little ways past it until you see grass block. If you're having trouble finding it, you can use Control F. That works in most text thingies. I'm using Notepad++, by the way, if you should wish to use the same one. So we can change this grass block to be something kind of dumb. This might, hopefully this doesn't lag stuff out too bad. Jungle leaves, sure. And right under this, where it says Minecraft dirt, we can change like the in between the stone and the surface grass. I'm running out of blocks that look different from each other. I'm trying to make it really visual. So we could put diamond blocks there, I guess. And for our last basic change here that applies to the whole dimension, we can adjust deep slate. And make sure you're changing the deep slate that's underneath result state, not the one over by random name. Oh dear, I hope this isn't laggy. All right, we'll set the deep slate to be glowstone. It gives off light, so it could cause some issues, but we'll see what happens. So we made a few changes we can look at. So we see that the jungle leaves did like we expected. And they're even more laggy than I thought because they're despawning. I would need to set the... it despawned. I would need to set the persistent block property, which you can do if you want. We can see the deep slate is now all glowstone here, except for specific tough ores, which has to do with the biome. But we'll forget about that for a second. And if we go all the way down to bedrock, you can see it's now actually redstone blocks. So we can definitely change a lot of stuff with the surface rules. Oh my word. This is so laggy. If I go in range of those leaves and they start despawning, the game just starts stuttering real hard. So the reason that this is all dirt and not diamond blocks has to do with surface rules. They're very, very orderly. So all this stuff happens in order. So we have a check here that happens. You don't need to understand what this check does, just understand it is a check. And then if this check passes, it places the jungle leaves. If that check didn't pass, then it would place our diamond blocks. But because it passed every single time, we get the jungle leaves. So this is just kind of a heads up just so that you don't just, Control F result state and then just go change all the blocks that are right next to it. Some of them won't do anything, except for in very certain scenarios. So if we want to actually change the dirt blocks, what we're going to do is find the other dirt. There's one other one here, and this is the one that actually changes things. So if we say emerald block, so now you can see we get the emerald blocks underneath the jungle leaves like we expected originally. And that's just kind of a heads up that you have to pay attention to the order that the surface rules happen in. And sometimes you may just have a little bit of trial and error trying to get the right blocks to show up in the right place. Unless you understand surface rules, then there's no trial and error. And on that note, if you're curious about learning more about surface rules, there's a link in the description to the wiki page that explains how to use them more. Definitely more of an advanced topic. We're not covering it in this video, but if you're the self-starter type, it's worth a look. So up to this point, we have been making changes to the dimension globally. So it applies to both Biome 1 and Biome 2. You can see the different color foliage, which indicates the different biomes. But now we're going to move on to some more biome-specific stuff. So we're going to focus on this darker green biome. So just to give you more options, I've included some surface rules in here by default that only work for a specific biome. So we're going to search for windswept hills, And we're going to add one of our biomes to this list. That's what we have here in the square brackets. So you just put a comma and then you put the name of your biome. So namespace, biome name. In my case, I'm going to do custom biome 2. And then we see we have another result state, which of course means we can change a block here, but only in our second biome. So I'm going to put in some coarse dirt. You can put in whatever you want. The point is that this is biome specific. There's also another windswept with a slightly different condition right here. So same thing, we just add in our biome here, making sure not to forget the quotation marks or the comma. And we have another result state we can change. So I'm going to make this be a little bit different. It'll be rooted dirt. And now we can begin to distinguish our biomes from each other. You'll notice there's no dirt, nothing happening in this custom biome number 1. But over here we're getting, oh, it looks like the rooted dirt is sort of the interior layer and the regular dirt is the top layer. So now we have very distinct differences between the base blocks that generate in each biome. Now we can move on to start populating these biomes with interesting things. So we're going to go into our WorldGen folder, biome, and we're going to open both files. All right, these two biome files are kind of like adding the details in at the end of painting. So there's two biome files here. I intended for the first one, custom biome 1, to be sort of like a reference. It has everything in it. And so if you aren't quite sure what to add for custom biome 2, you can reference it. So the first thing you'll notice is in the Carvers here, the custom biome 1 has 3. Custom biome 2 only has 1. So these generate caves. So if we want extra caves, we would put in Minecraft cave. And potentially Minecraft Canyon too, which is more like surface level caves, you know, like ravines and stuff. And alternatively, if you want no caves, you just remove everything in there. I want caves though, so we'll put that there. We're gonna skip this for a second. We'll come back to it. And we're gonna go down to features. So there's a lot of cool stuff here. And these are all like little details that get generated per biome. So like lava lake surface. Maybe we don't want that because that burns up all the leaves. Delete it. Delete it. We like amethyst geodes, so we can keep those. Maybe we keep these. Or emerald or dirt. I don't know. I kind of want some more ore here. So we can add an additional detail for it to generate sometimes. Or diamond. And you can reference the first file. If we scroll down here, you can see there's a lot of ores like granite, diorite, andesite, tuff, all the classic ores, you know, gold, redstone, diamond. And so we can include as many of those as we like. For example, I want diamond medium too, and diamond large. Oh, there's another lava spring down here. Get rid of that. Okay, so one thing to note with features is they need to be consistently ordered across all biomes. So just as an example, we have ore dirt here, and we have ore diamond large. Dirt is first, diamond large is second. So even in custom biome 1, ore dirt has to be before diamond large. If it ever gets confusing, you can always like copy a full list, paste it in, and just get rid of the stuff that you don't want. And then you're sure to have the correct order. All right, I'm gonna add some more features in. There will be a list of features that you can add in the description. And if you're confused where to add what feature, because there's a lot of steps here, just know that generally the more detailed stuff is at the last few steps. So like vegetation, pretty detailed, like the second to last step here. And more broad stroke stuff like amethyst geodes and the lava surface stuff, or sorry, the underground lava lakes were at the beginning. So that's more broad strokes. And I haven't had it mess up too many times, even if I put like ore in the wrong place, you know, 1 or 2 steps earlier. You don't have to worry too much about it. There is a thing on the wiki that will tell you which generation step is for which thing in vanilla, but you don't really need to worry about it too much. All right, so I went kind of crazy with the features. Oh good, it looks crazy too. We got sunflowers next to jungle trees next to mangrove trees, cherry trees next to, I don't know, swamp trees or something. flower forests, and it's cool because it doesn't place it on the leaf blocks. It only puts it on the dirt blocks. Features do have rules associated with them, so you can't just like place it anywhere unless you want to make your own custom feature, which you can do. We're not doing that in this tutorial because that's complicated. Not gonna lie, this this is actually a way cooler effect than I intended. Oh, there's like tree patches. That is really cool. I'll also point out that there's more ravines, and oh yeah, you can see another one over there. And underneath there should be like more caves and stuff too, because we added the carvers. So that's the last little bit of block placement we have for our custom biome 2. And you can see very clearly, like the biome files are only applying to the biome. Okay, you remember how we skipped this before? Well, we're coming back to it now. So this is even more detailed. This doesn't place any blocks, it just changes how blocks look. In fact, these two change how grass looks. So we can affect grass color with them just by increasing these numbers. Or if you want to be more precise, you can actually add a grass color option and then just set it to be one of these very large numbers. There's a link in the description to these decimal numbers and how they convert into colors in game. You just scroll to the bottom. We can also do foliage color, and we can set those to be the same if we want them to sort of, you know, look like they match, or we can set them to be completely and totally different if we want to. So there's a lot of colors we can change. We got fog color, we got sky color, water fog color, like when you're swimming and there's like fog coming around. So this is very much trial and error. You know, this is just adjusting things to find colors we like. Oops, I just realized I put the colors are supposed to go next to the other colors. There we go. It's supposed to all be inside this effects thing. So yeah, if you copied me exactly, you'll have to move it too. Sorry. I'll just apologize for your eyes, or to your eyes ahead of time. But look, it's worth it. Look at all this crazy stuff we can change. So we got kind of autumn foliage. We have a bright yellow sky, like some oversaturated Hollywood movie. We got bright blue water, and look at this. If we go underwater, it's purple. Why? Because you can. I don't know. Oh, we don't have any natural grass blocks. You can see it's bright green, very much different than the foliage color. Oh, now that is a weird sunset, yellow into orange, but the yellow's on top. Oh, it's like green now. Yeah, so that's obviously going to be a fun one to mess around with to get the exact right color you want. But scroll all the way down to the bottom for the last thing. Look at this. Time to add some life, some spawners. By the way, this does not add a spawner block. This adds the actual entity. So it determines what entities can spawn in our biome. So right now we can only spawn llamas and zombie villagers and glow squid underground, I think, and bats in caves. It's important to note that we're not actually changing the spawning logic. So like stuff can't spawn on top of leaves. Zombie villagers can't spawn on top of leaves. Llamas can't spawn on top of leaves. So for me, I'm just going to copy this, comma, enter, and paste it. And I want a big flock of parrots. So I'm going to do max count of 16, we'll do 12. And we'll pump the weight up a little bit too, because the higher the weight is, the more likely it is that this spawn event will happen. And you have to make sure that you add creatures into the correct category. So most of the stuff you're adding is going to either be a creature or a monster. Pretty straightforward, but you can just add in whatever kind of stuff you want in here. And I mean, you control the spawn, so you can, if there's a creature that you wish there was a farm for, a biome that you could farm it, say like zombie villagers, you can make that happen. So we've added rules, we've added blocks, we've added colors, and we've added life. Let's take a look at our custom biome here. And look at this, it's incredibly unique. Almost nonsensically so in my case. Yours probably looks a little better than this. I like parts of it. The green and the trees is pretty cool. This is very random. Although I do like the emerald blocks underneath the leaves. That looks really cool. Oh, look at this. We got like a flock of parrots here. Oh, we got phantom spawning in there. I didn't even think this was dark enough. Oh, whoa, look at this flock of parrots. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So how does that make you feel? You know how to make a custom dimension now. We went over a lot of settings that you can use to make your custom dimension and your biome unique to you. Oh, look at all those parrots. That's awesome. Oh, man. Yeah, so definitely have fun with this. Play around with it. Find stuff you like. And I'm sure you'll be able to make a custom dimension that you love. But for now, that is going to be it from me. I hope you guys learned something here. There's a lot of stuff all packed into one tutorial, so I hope it all made sense. If you have questions, put them in the comments. And don't forget there's a lot of links in the description to help you out with a bunch of this stuff. So that's going to be the end of the tutorial. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later, later.